Have you ever wondered what it takes to keep Iredell County safe?
Well, today we're going to take a little visit over to see the Iredell County Sheriff Darren Campbell. Come join us as we go and meet with him today.
I'm Brian Goodwin, teacher at West Iredell High School.
And I'm Adrian Bussell, social studies teacher at North Iredell High School.
Let's go meet Sheriff Darren. Sheriff Campbell, where and when did you graduate high school?
West Iredell High School, 1989.
What encouraged you to become a law enforcement officer, or what pushed you in the direction to do that?
You know, actually in 7th grade, I knew earlier that I want to get into it. We had the former sheriff, which was Leroy Revis at the time, came to visit a social studies class. And when he started speaking about the constitutionality of the office and what the sheriff does and how it's real old English, it traveled across the oceans with our earliest colonists, and that's how the sheriff was implemented into North America. And some of our earliest elections was, I believe, 1630s. There's records of that. So that's what really piqued my interest in becoming, as far as a sheriff, a constitutional officer.
As far as college, what kind of training did you have to go to? I know you worked your way up through the ranks, but tell us a little bit about that.
Well, there's been a lot of specific, as far as just getting to be law enforcement. Obviously, I went through Mitchell Community College there, an associate's degree program. And then, in addition to that, you have to do what we call basic law enforcement training. And that's 6 months of training to become a police officer. You have to have that certification and pass that before you can ever be sworn in as a law enforcement officer. But what's unique about that is since the sheriff is elected, really, you don't even have to do that anymore. You do not have to have that certification. Once you're elected, you assume all the roles and responsibilities.
What are some of the difficult tasks that you have to take care of on a day-to-day basis?
I think there's a lot of them. Obviously, enforcing the law is one thing. Having discretion is other. We do a lot. One of the things with the Office of Sheriff, our main responsibilities is courts, jail, and civil, which is a lot of your writs and executions. But here in Ireland, most sheriffs across the country also include law enforcement. So I think if you had to ask me what was the most thing I spend most of my time on, it's a personnel issue, finding qualified people that has a good background that I can hire and bring to work. And that would be my number one issue right now that we do. And of course, go to keeping crime rates low and making sure that our communities are safe. And now with the coronavirus is obviously uncharted waters for us right now.
What's your biggest problem in Iredell County?
We've got a good community. I think the nexus, obviously drug abuse is one of our biggest problems because so many other crimes have a nexus to drug use. Your larcenies, a lot of your violent crime. So obviously us taking a strong stand on that is having a zero tolerance for drug dealing, and at the same time trying to help those that are addicted and having an ear to that. But I think that's the biggest things we try to be up on top of. Is if you're going to deal drugs here in Iredell, we're going to make an example out of you, and that drives up so many other crimes such as larceny and violent crime.
What are things our youth could do to help reduce crime?
I think the biggest thing the youth obviously is sort of one of the things that's facing our youth now, and you see it is their situation with violence in our schools, active shooters, bullying, things of that nature. And I guess the best way is always have an open ear, let law enforcement know there's numerous ways that you can anonymously report that. And if you see something that don't sound right, let somebody know, because you never know what goes on behind closed doors. You never know what problem your friend may be having that you can make a difference in their life if you just let somebody know.
You've already touched on it a little bit about encouraging students and things to do with school safety. And I know at West Iredell we've had the door locks installed recently. Are there any other plans or things to improve safety in schools that y'all have coming up?
Well, there's a lot of stuff. In our elementary schools, about a year and a half ago, we put ballistic shields at all of our elementary schools to make sure that the officers or responding officers or students there would have something to protect them if we had to have it. Obviously, we're in our elementary or our high schools, we have SROs in the middle and high school. And I think by starting that in our elementary schools is another way to build up safety and build up the relationships. And I think more than anything is have the relationship with your SRO and them have the SRO, which is school resource officer, have a relationship with our students. Mm-hmm. And there's all the time, always new training coming about, always a way to deal with different situations. But now with technology, the internet, email, there's so many ways to report something if you hear something, and let us know, because that's the way we'll be safe in the end, is letting somebody know something.
What other law enforcement organizations do you get to work with, as far as like the police department or highway patrol? Do you ever get to work with those folks?
Oh, absolutely. We work with North Carolina State Highway Patrol, Statesville Police Department, obviously Troutman and Mooresville. We work a lot with Homeland Security Investigations, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, State Bureau of Investigations, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. It is just last week we were working with an agency out of Arkansas. So, criminals and investigations usually don't know a city limit boundary, a county boundary, or a state boundary. So we do a lot of different involvements with agencies. And I have deputies that's sworn in on the federal level to work Homeland Security investigations. We do a lot of that here.
What was it like to meet President Trump? I know he's been to town several times. Some we hear about, some we don't. And a lot of students ask what he's like.
I can also say when we were there, when he come to, I got an opportunity to go on a firing range with him and fire weapons with him. He was very, believe it or not, quiet. We spoke about a lot of things facing local law enforcement issues that we see here, and asked our advice on him going forward, what things could help us on the local level, because you have the FBI and you hear a lot about the big federal law enforcement. The problem is, on the state level, we're sort of the eyes and the ears in your communities of what's going on in our churches, our schools, and it was a once in a lifetime thing to get a chance to go on the firing range and meet Mr. Trump and or President Trump, and then get him a chance to go back to the White House this past September and meet him again. So that's been great.
Well, thank you very much for your cooperation and the interview today. We really do appreciate it, and we hope this sheds a little bit more light for the kids on what you actually do and what the Sheriff's Department actually does in our county.
Absolutely. I appreciate y'all taking the time to come by. I'm glad to help in any way I can.
And thank you. It's glad to meet a West Iredell graduate.
I know, I hear that, yes. Good West Iredell warrior. Yep.
Good deal, but thank you, Darren.
Absolutely. I appreciate y'all taking the time to come. I think this is super cool that you're, learning's change, and being able to use technology is one of the biggest things, and bring it up close and personal. I think we're all going to change when this is done, about different ways to do different things.
Thank you.
Absolutely.